Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to B Sports Buzz, the hive for all things sports. Today, we're going to talk about the Indiana Fever and do a season preview based on a roster they constructed and free agency. Um, Last year, the Indiana Fever finished the season 20-20. They were the sixth seed in the league. They went to the playoffs and lost in the first round to the Connecticut Sun. They had a rough start to the season last season. Rough start. They had 11 games in so many nights. Um, just a new roster trying to click, trying to gel, trying to mold together. And it was tough on them. It was tough on them, and it wasn't looking good. It just was not looking good for Indiana, but coming out of before the break, actually, before the break, once the 11 game just 11 game stretch ended for them, they came out, and from that they had a couple of days off. They came back from that, and they started to look better. They started to look more gelled as a team, more as a team, cohesive as a team. Um and it looked like it was going to turn around, and it did turn around for them coming out of the All-Star break, the Olympic break. They hit the ground running, and I mean hit the ground running literally. They had the fastest pace in the league. Like every time they got the ball off the rim, it was just go, 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 and they did it, and it worked out for them. It moved them up the standings, moved them to the sixth spot. They got to 500 for the season. They finished 20-20. They went to the playoffs, but they got whacked in the first round by the Connecticut Sun, just a more seasoned veteran team than them, and they got to hand it to them. But you gotta give the Indiana Fever team just credit altogether because it wasn't looking good, and they turned it around and they got to that sixth seed, and they end up getting to the playoff, and that's the goal. That's the goal for a young team to work together and eventually get to the playoffs. And then after that, once you get a taste of the playoffs, now you ready to win. Now you ready to go and challenge and be a contender for a championship. And I think that's what the Indiana Fever is going to try to do this season: be contenders for a championship. We have to start with one of their biggest signings in free agency, and that was bringing back guard Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell got the supermax contract. Um, she deserved it. What? She deserved it. She got the supermax contract for 1 year, but she deserved it. I think Kelsey Mitchell deserved that contract. For me personally, I think she was their unsung hero last season. A lot of things she did just help that team find its footing and find its path. She is a flat out bucket getter, flat out scorer, the definition of a two guard and what you want in the two guard. She gonna go out there and she gonna get you points. She averaged 19.2 points last season, 2.5 rebounds and 1.8 assists. This is her seventh year. She's going into her seventh year in the league. She was a first round pick. She was actually second pick in the first round, and she's a bucket, man. There's not much you can say about Kelsey Mitchell outside of just flat out bucket getter. Some of her stats, she I think she led them in 3-point percentage. Let me double check. But I think she led them in 3-point percentage for the season, which ultimately just helped the team, especially when you plan a faster pace, a faster brand of basketball. You're going to get some quicker shots. You're going to get some better looks at the rim. You're going to get open shots in transition. So you have to be able to knock that bucket down. And she averaged 40.2% from 3 point range last season. So yeah, she was shooting the net off the rim. Kelsey Mitchell was a great re-signing for them. I thought she was gonna walk, but she didn't. She came back to Indy, and she said she want to stay with Indiana. That's the team that drafted her, and they offered her something she really couldn't turn down, and that's good for them. We're gonna get into the second signing for the Indiana Fever and Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard is just a veteran through and through. Veteran through and through. She's a 6'2" forward. She was drafted in the first round. She was picked 5 in the first round in 2024. She averages 17.6 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. Uh, she is a 3-time champion, and she won Defensive Player of the Year. Um, and also, she's an all-star. Her awards: 2-time All Defensive Team, 1-time All WNBA, 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, 1-time Most Improved in 2018. Natasha Howard, another bucket getter. I feel like last season for Dallas, she kind of got injured early on in the season, then came back in. And it was just a tougher season for her with finding her footing, getting back into the groove of things, getting back into the mesh of the team. So it was a little difficult for her last season. Last season was probably some of her lowest numbers, highest points per game, but lowest numbers in like field goal percentage. Like Natasha, she can in 2020 she was shooting 53% from the field, 54% in 2018, 57% in 2016. So she can that 45% may be an average, but she can definitely put the ball in the rim at a higher rate than she did last season. And I just think that goes to her being injured early on in the season and not being able to find her footing. You know, that team in Dallas dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of lineup changes due to injury. At one point, they didn't have enough players on the bench almost. They I think they played Chicago one time and they had 7 players. It was just a wild and tough season for Dallas. And I think for Natasha, she felt as though she could take her talent somewhere else and possibly contend for a championship. And she didn't see that for herself in Dallas, so she signed with Indiana. I think is a good pickup for Indiana. She's a veteran. She's been there before. She's done it before. She's able to put the ball in the rim. Um, yeah, I think it's a good pickup for Indiana picking up Natasha Howard. Indiana made a lot of signings this free agency. They were one of the most active teams in free agency and in a trade rumor mill. They just did a lot to reconstruct this roster and get some, I don't want to say better talent, but better, more proven talent on his team. One of those signings being Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham is a 6'1" guard. 6 seasons in the league. Another quote unquote vet. She was a second round pick in 2019, the number 13 pick. She averages 8.4 points a game, 3.9 rebounds, and 2 assists. Sophie Cunningham is scrappy, just scrappy. Um, she she's very scrappy. She gonna get out there and do some of the dirty work. She don't mind getting in the mix of things and getting in the thick of it. And Indiana needed that on their team. They needed somebody who don't mind mixing it up, don't mind being a quote unquote villain, don't mind doing the dirty work, and she's gonna do it. She's a proven 3 point shooter. Her career, she shoots 36.2% behind the arc. In 2024, she shot 37.8% from the three. Um, those are good numbers. You got to think now you have Sophie Cunningham, who shoots 36.2% from behind the arc, and Kelsey Mitchell, who shot 40% from behind the arc. And I think Lexi also shot 40 plus percent from behind the arc. So you just add more 3-point shooting to that team to space the floor out, and give Aaliyah Boston and Summer and Natasha Howard more room to work in on the inside, and give Caitlin more options to pass the ball to. So Sophie Cunningham, another good pickup for the Indiana Fever. We're gonna move right on to another free agency signing for the Indiana Fever and DeWanna Bonner. DB is the vet of all vets. The vet of all vets with no, maybe not. Was she drafted before Tina Charles? Maybe not. But she's a vet of all vets. She's one of the longest tenured players in the W right now. 15 years in the league, drafted in the first round, pick 5 in 2009. God. Yeah, in 2009. First round pick number 5 in 2009. She's a hybrid forward guard, 6'4". You can move her around. She averaged 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. Um, One all defensive team. She's won all rookie. She's been on an all rookie team. She's a 2-time all WNBA player. 3-time 6 Woman of the Year. She had some crazy years in Phoenix, coming off that bench and giving them what they need to win some championships. She's a 2-time WNBA champion with the Phoenix Sun in 2009 and 2014. So she won a championship in her rookie year, by the way. Just just skill. Just skill for real. DeWanna Bonner, I think she is a streaky player to me. Very streaky. Last season, we saw her go through a patch where it just seemed rough, really rough. And we also saw her go through a patch where it was like she couldn't miss. Um, just streaky now. 15 years in the league. I think this signing was more of a veteran that's capable of spacing the floor and giving you some points, but also being a vet that's been there before, who's won, who's seen everything you can possibly see in the league, and just can give gems to the younger players on this team on how to compete and how to compete for a championship. So I think this was a good signing for Indiana. She's another one who can get streaky from the 3-point line. She didn't particularly shoot it well last season, just 29.4%. But some of her previous seasons, she shot over 30%, 35% from the 3-point line. And overall, in her career, it's 30.4% from the 3-point line. So she's able to knock it down. I don't know if that's necessarily what Indiana is looking for her to do, but she is able to knock it down. Me personally, I think DB is more effective in that mid range and in the paint. She can just get a bucket in the mid range and in the paint. She has the length, if you play her at the 2, to be taller than most 2s. And she has the speed, if you play her in the forward position, to be faster than most forwards. So yeah, DB is another one that I think is a good signing for the Indiana Fever, and just someone who's going to bring a different style and a different culture to this team. Some more pickups for Indiana Fever was Sydney Colson. Sydney Colson is another veteran, 10-year vet, second round pick, number 16 in the 2011 draft. She's a guard, 5'8". Sydney Colson is the face of the league. She averages 2.5 points a game, 0.5 rebounds a game, and 1.1 assist a game. Sydney Colson is solid coming off the bench. She won the championship in 2023 and 2022 with the Las Vegas Aces. She's just a solid player coming off the bench. I think last season with the Aces, she don't necessarily get the opportunities, consistent opportunities to show what it is she can do. She sometimes get buried on that bench and get forgotten about on the bench, but she's just a morale person. Like, she's gonna boost the morale in the environment. She's gonna make you laugh. She's gonna bring the team together. She's gonna be that glue that you need for your team. And she has the capability to be a decent backup point guard for Caitlin. Last season, like I said, she only averaged 2.5 points, but she shot 42% from the field and 37.8% from 3-point line. So she's capable of making those shots. It's all about opportunity and time. And her productivity in Indiana is going to be based off how much time they actually give her on the court. She's also, to be 5'8", she's also a decent defender. Um, at the head of the snake, leading the pack defense wise, she's able to put pressure on those guards, bringing the ball up and cause steals sometimes and stay in front of guards. So, yeah, Sydney Colson is another good signing for Indiana. They also picked up guard Jaylen Brown in a three-way trade with the Wings. Um, Jaylen Brown, again, was another player for the Wings. She was a rookie last season. She got injured early on, and she just did not play the rest of the season. She got injured early on. She didn't play the rest of the season, so we didn't get to see much from Jaylen. She's 6'1". She was undrafted last season. She's like that guard forward hybrid. She averaged 2.6 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 0.4 assists a game. Like I said, I don't think she have much stats because she got injured early on and she just didn't get the games. Like, she played 14 games and she started one. And she got 10 minutes in those games. That's just not enough time to do what it is you need to do or be productive on a team where you have flat out scorers and Enrique and Natasha Howard and Maddie Segrist and Tierra McCowan. So she just didn't get enough time to show what it is she could do. Again, she shot 50% from 3-point line, line, but she didn't take many attempts. She only took one attempt, maybe two. So she makes one out of two attempts, and she shot 48% from the field overall. So Jaylen Brown is another one that I think is a good bench piece. I like Jaylen Brown. I watched her in preseason for Dallas, and she was just handing out buckets left and right. She's a lefty, and she was just handing out buckets, flat out buckets, just and score the ball. So I hope Jaylen gets an opportunity to show what it is she can do for a team and just contribute to this Indiana team. The next sign and the next free agency pickup was Bree Turner. Bree Turner came over to Indiana from the Chicago Sky. Another veteran, 6 years in the league. She was drafted in 2019, the first round, pick number 11. She's a forward, straight out of Notre Dame. She averages 1.2 points a game, 2 rebounds a game, and 0.4 assists a game. She's two-time all-defensive team, and she was on the all-rookie team in 2019. Bree Turner is another player who can – Bree Turner can play defense. Like, watching her rookie season, not even her rookie season, I think it was 2021 in a series against the Chicago Sky, where the Sky ultimately won the championship versus the Phoenix Mercury. Bree Turner was tasked with banging with Candace Parker, and she did the best she can do out there on the court, for real, for real. Bree Turner is just a solid backup vet. I think this signing was more so just to add depth to the bench, just to add depth, add a quality veteran, another player who's been to championship game before, who knew what it took to get to that championship game. And I hope Bree Turner does well on the Indiana Fever and she sees some minutes of eventually. Let's get into some of the returning players for Indiana. We are going to start with, let's start with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark. Caitlin is going into her second year with Indiana. She was a rookie last season. She was drafted in the first round, pick number 1. She averaged 19.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 8.4 assists a game. I think that was actually a record number right here. And the number of assists or something. She broke a lot of records. We're going to get into that. She was all WNBA last season, and she also won Rookie of the Year last season. Caitlin Clark is a talent, man. Just a flat out talent. She is just taking the world by, man. She's a talent, okay? It's not much you can say about Caitlin than being a flat out talent. Um, Averaging 19.2 points in the rookie season is impressive. She shot 41.7% from the field. I believe that should increase. She also shot 34.4% from the three-point line. That should also increase. And she's 90% from the free throw line. That may be her average. Um, yeah, I can do the obvious and talk about her turnovers and all of that, but I think Caitlin was an example of what a rookie season should be. The first half of the season, I don't think she performed as well as she did the second half of the season. I think the first half of the season was an adjustment. It was an adjustment to the league, to the speed of the league, to the size of the league, to the strength of the players who was guarding her, to just everything that comes with the league. I think she had to adjust to it, and she eventually adjusted to it in the second half and had a better second half than her first half. For me, for her 3-point percentage to increase, I would probably like to see her step in a little and be closer to the 3-point line and see what her 3-point percentage look like then. But we all know Caitlin takes deep threes. She shoots threes from the logos. That's just her forte. That's what she does. There's nothing wrong with it, but I would like to see her step in just a little bit more, see if she can knock down some more of those threes. Um, in the first half, she wasn't really stopping in the mid range to show what she can do in the mid range. She was either at the rim or behind the 3-point line. Coming into the second half of the season, she had some games where she was pulling up and knocking down midi jumpers, which looked pretty good. I know she's been working in the off season, so we're going to see what it is Caitlin's been working on in the off season and how she adjusts to the league going into her second year. I also think defense is something she has to improve on, just as far as like just not getting beat. Sometimes she just gets beat on defense, and it just don't look good, and it causes a lot of pressure for that back line of your defense when your guards are getting beat. So we'll see how Caitlin look coming into her second year of the season. She has some big shoes of her own to fill because her rookie season was amazing. So people are expecting her to continue to grow and to continue to get better and potentially be an MVP of this league, a champion of this league. So I look forward to seeing what Caitlin brings in her second year in the season. We're going to get into Demarius Dantas. Demarius Dantas. She came back from an injury? No. I don't know what happened to Demarius, but she did not play in the first half of the season. She did play in the second half of the season, and she played well for Indiana. She's a big that can knock down 3-point shot. Like, she can stretch the floor. She can knock down the three. She's 6'3". She was drafted in 2012. The first round pick number 12. She spent 9 years in the league by way of Brazil. Demarius, Like I said, she can stretch the floor. She can knock down that 3-point shot. She also is solid on defense, can stay in front of her players and contend on the defensive side of the ball. Her 3-point average last season was 39.4%. So now you got Damiris Dantas, who shoot 39.4, um, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and I think Lexi Hall all shoot over 37% from 3-point range. It's 4 players. They're able to stretch the floor and do things that, man, this team, if they're able to get it to click and work, they can be very, very dangerous. And I think Dantas is going to play a big role in that, coming off the bench for Indiana. The next player is Lexi Ho. We have been given the opportunity to see Lexi Ho play an Unrivaled, playing 3-on-3, and see how she looks. She is a 3-year player. She was drafted in 2022 in the first round. She was picked number 6 by way of Stanford. She's a guard. She's 6'1". She averaged 5.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 1.1 assists a game. Lexi Ho was the defense for Indiana last season, if we're being honest. She was the defense for Indiana last season. Okay. So Lexi's, the start of the season, couldn't see the court. And people just couldn't understand why Lexi Ho wasn't playing. Why wasn't Lexi Ho playing in the first season? She got her opportunity to play, and she just never went back to that bench. And that's what you got to do. She only started 11 games of the season. Think of that. She only started 11 games of the season, and she was by far the best defender on that team. So I don't know what took so long for her to start, but she eventually started, and she did her thing. Lexi shot 47.1% from the 3-point arc, 44.1% for field goal range. So her 3-point percentage was better than her overall percentage. They just let you know that Lexi was a sniper. She was knocking those things down and knocking them down at a high rate for Indiana. And that is very, very, very impressive. Very impressive. I want to see how she grows going into the next season. She's in Unrivaled now. She's had some games where she struggled. She had a game where she played really well. She had a game where she was all right. So it's been inconsistent in Unrivaled, but I look forward to seeing how she looks in her 4th year in the league. And the last player we're going to discuss for the Indiana Fever is Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston is going into her 3rd year in the league. She was drafted in 2023 in the first round. She was picked number 1. She's a forward center. She's more of a center. She's 6'5", and she is out of South Carolina. Shout out to the Gamecocks. Aaliyah Boston averaged 14 points a game, 8.9 rebounds, and 3.2 assists a game. Aaliyah Boston was another one in that first half of the season. It was just rough for her. It was rough. She was the 2023 Rookie of the Year. She was also on the 2023 All-Rookie team. But like I said, first half of the season was rough for Aaliyah Boston. Just a lot of mental stuff she was going through. She deleted social media. She took time to herself, and she came back in the second half, and she was firing on all cylinders. She was firing on all cylinders. She was a beast down there in the paint in the second half. The first half, not so, but the second half, she was a beast down there in the paint. She don't take too many 3-point shots. She's capable of knocking them down. She shot 26.9% last season, but in 2023 she shot 40% from the 3. So she's capable of knocking them down, but she's the person who's going to bang in the paint. Most of her points come in the paint. She's going to go down there and bang with the big girls and get the work done. She shot 52.9% from the field. She Like I said, averaged 8.9 rebounds, 1.2 blocks. So Aaliyah Boston is another foundational piece for this Indiana Fever team. She's another piece going into her third year. I look forward to seeing how she progresses. Again, she's playing at Unrivaled right now, and she's been inconsistent. She struggled. She had some of her struggles, but everybody in Unrivaled, for the most part, has been up and down. So I don't hold that against her. I look forward to see how she continues to grow going into this next season. Of course, playing with someone like Caitlin Clark who can pass the ball as well as she can pass the ball gives this team a lot of hope in getting the job done, getting to the next level, taking that next step, and potentially becoming a championship team, championship contenders. Um, I know they were the sixth seed last year. I think they can work their way up to being the fourth, maybe third seed. It depends on how the other teams pan out. But I do think they have the talent and they have the opportunity to do that. I am curious to see how it mesh, what the starting lineups will look like, who they decide to start, who they decide going to be the sixth woman coming off the bench, and just how it mesh and how it works. I am concerned a little bit for them on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they have enough talented defenders now to get some quality defense. They should be better than last season defensively. Honestly, they should be way better than last season defensively, but I do question how this team will look. So, yeah, that's all for my season preview of the Indiana Fever. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and comment under this video. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. The more subscribers, the more videos y'all get. And again, thank you for tuning in to B Sports Buzz. I appreciate y'all and peace out.